Welcome to today's masterclass. My name is Lisa Richter, and I will be your host today. On the off chance that you don't know, advance the slide, Jennifer, sorry, I forgot to tell you. On the off chance you don't know about CSIA, we are a global nonprofit trade association with over 500 member companies in 35 countries. Next slide, please. For system integrator members, the CSIA Best Practices Manual and CSIA certification are some of the more popular member benefits, but you will also enjoy a variety of others, including professional development, learning from your peers, and access to professional services experts, including insurance, financial, and legal, who understand the SI's unique business needs. For partner members, CSIA offers an ecosystem to grow your SI program, understand your customers' pain points, monitor industry trends, and share your thought leadership. Next slide, please. With thousands of qualified integrators and suppliers, the CSIA Industrial Automation Exchange helps SIs, industry suppliers, and manufacturers connect and do business. For SIs and partners, it provides a platform to support your content and SEO marketing efforts, position yourself as a thought leader, and nurture prospects during their complicated buyer's journey. Next slide, please. In case you aren't a current member, now is a great time to join. Membership provides you many benefits, including a full lineup of virtual events and other resources for you and your entire team, from accounting to sales to operations, 365 days per year. Plus, CSA dues are prorated, which means that if you join now, you will get the rest of 2022 and all of 2023 included in your dues. If you are currently a member, thank you. And remember, membership renewals will start next month, so please watch your inbox for your renewal notice so that you can continue to enjoy your membership benefits uninterrupted. Next slide, please. One last housekeeping note before I turn it over to Frank. I want to remind you that if you have not set up your new account in CSIA's new database, please do so today. This is important because you will need new login credentials to access dues and update contact information. Finally, if you're attending the Rockwell Automation Fair next month, please join us for a meetup and happy hour on Wednesday, November 16th at the Marriott, which is attached to McCormick Center. If you stop by the booth during the day, I will buy you a drink by giving you a couple of free drink tickets. At this time, I would like to turn it over to today's speaker. Frank, take it away.
Thank you, Lisa. And let me see if I can get my screen here. So good morning, everyone. Good afternoon if you are on the other side of the world. As Lisa said, I'm Frank Reardon, going to be talking today about onboarding recent college grads. I understand that this is going to be rather just top-level presentation. And I'll throw this out there. If you are going to be in town for the Automation Fair and you want to get into a little bit more detail, I'm based in Chicago. Happy to meet up at the Automation Fair. Happy to host you at my office. Feel free to take advantage of that. Love hosting and connecting more deeply with other CSIA members. So a little bit about myself. I'm the founder and CEO of DMC. Got undergraduate and graduate degrees from UMass and University of Illinois Chicago in mechanical engineering. A CSA board member. This group of good-looking gentlemen, well, they are my Exotech peer group led by Don Roberts. Those gentlemen have been instrumental in helping us grow and just good friends. And so it's kind of a shout out. If you're not part of a peer group through CSA, I'd recommend looking into it. DMC, we've been in business for 26 years. We're based in Chicago. We've got offices across the country. About 225 employees. We're growing. We've got pretty aggressive growth goals. One thing that I'm most proud of is that we are consistently rated as one of the best places to work. And I think most recently, 2022 in Chicago, we were the second best mid-sized company to work for. Very proud of that. And I think one of the foundations of that is our onboarding process. We work in a lot of different industries, and so it's a wide variety of technologies and platforms and processes which makes onboarding an interesting challenge for us. But I think that we've got it kind of figured out, which I'll show you a little bit of proof of that in a couple of slides. So for recruiting, as I said, we've got offices all across the country. Got 13 offices, and we've got a very, very heavy college recruiting program. This slide shows like all the different schools that we recruit from, and basically what our strategy on that is a local-ish recruiting strategy. What we found is that, yes, of course, you can find someone from University of Illinois that wants to go to San Diego, as an example. But in general, people are rooted, the odds of finding a good employee who wants to work at a certain location, going for a local-ish university is where we found our most success. This is our employee growth chart over the years, and it's, it ramps up. We've got, a bit of a somewhat of a hockey stick, but one thing I did want to just highlight is our employee growth and then our involvement with CSIA. So you can see, we've been in business for 12 years, kind of muddling along. We joined CSIA, and that's when things really started to ramp up. Set our foundation for how we do business, getting CSIA certified, and that really set the foundation. Got recertified. We've been recertified every 3 years since. Like I said, joined the Exotech peer group, which has been fantastic for our growth. Other recertification, and yet recertified again. So although there's absolutely correlation between CSIA membership and certification and peer group membership, I am pretty sure there's also a causation. So again, if anyone has any questions, if you're either not a CSIA member or not certified, and the benefits to that, very passionate about it, let me know. As far as experienced hires, more than 4 out of 5 of our current employees and all-time employees are entry level. It's something that we are good at. We're good at finding them. We're good at getting them up to speed fast. And it's a process that's very successful for us. And here's an example. The majority of our leaders, people on our leadership team, people on our senior leadership team, starting with my partner, Ken, in the upper left-hand corner, who joined 25 years ago, have started their career at DMC. So it's something that it works really well for us, and going to talk a little bit about how we do it. One common thing that I hear is that entry-level engineers have too long of a ramp up. And here's the data that this is from this year. We hired about 36, I think, entry-level engineers this year, class of 2022. And on average, we've got 7 weeks until what I consider ramp up, where they're 75% or more billable, which is better than I actually would have thought or hoped for. I remember back in the day when I was thinking about like entry-level engineers, and like, okay, you know what, 6 months for a for learning, 6 months where they're going to be at a break even, and the third 6 months that they're going to pay for the first 6 months. So an 18-month until they're really profitable for us. Honestly, it's closer to 18 weeks. So our recruiting, I've got, this slide. Who are we looking for? Smart, hardworking, personable, as opposed to the dumb, lazy jerks. No, of course, though, that's attributes that everyone's looking for. And I could literally spend another presentation, if not several, talking about the details of our college recruiting process. But I was kind of happy with the image that I found to express my thoughts here. Not going to really be focused a lot about that. So, going to talk about onboarding. And if you take anything away from this presentation, this is what I would consider simple things that aren't necessarily easy. The reason I say that is that everything that I'm talking about overall, it needs to get done anyways. And if you take anything away, do things up front. Don't be, the college version of Frank Reardon procrastinator, waiting to the last minute to cram things. If you can get things done before an employee starts, get them done. That's could almost just stop this presentation now and you get 80% of the value of it. But having everything ready before an employee starts is critical for setting the tone for how their first few weeks, months, and even years at the company are going to pan out. For us, this list isn't necessarily meant to be copied. We have over 75 items and tasks that need to be completed anywhere from weeks before an employee starts, and then going through their first 3 months of employment. And this has been a list that we've created over years. Happy to share the details of this if anyone reaches out to me. There's nothing proprietary in, identifying or ordering IT equipment, seating assignments, business cards, corporate cards, just having that list. And then when we started to put structure into our process, hiring more than a few employees a year, we put things into a workflow. We first started using SharePoint workflows, now Power Automate flows. There's a lot of tools for automating processes. We're all automation companies. I think we can figure these things out. But in general, my recommendation, if you're just getting started on this, is starting with a simpler approach to define your processes, put a spreadsheet together, and then automate. Define your process, get it so it's working well, then put it into a workflow, and then you can have automated emails go out, automated tasks go out to the appropriate people, and it's so much easier to stay on top of things. So there's generally a lot of time between job acceptance and start date. And we try to take advantage of that. So we keep in touch with employees. We send a swag box to them. We assign a mentor to connect with them. We invite them to company events. That way they feel like they're part of the team before their first day. And it really helps to start making that personal connection. And one of the other advantages of if we hire someone in the fall recruiting session and we're doing a spring recruiting session, they can become our on-campus ambassadors for us as well. Next thing, make a BFD. Of course, everyone knows what that means. Best first day. Want to make when someone gets there that we are ready for them. Like I said, don't procrastinate. Do things now. Don't wait until after they show up. So one thing, I try to have lunch with all new employees within their first couple of weeks here. And one of the most consistent things I hear is how appreciative they are that everything is ready for them on their first day. Their PC, their corporate card, their business cards, training plan, etc. And it seems like so many companies set the bar so low that standing out is really pretty easy. And it sets a tone that we're a place that gets things done. We expect people to follow that and get things done for us. And like I said, you have to do the work anyways. Get it done up front, and it actually saves time in the long run as well. Celebrating their arrival. We have a welcome lunch for all new employees. Everyone gets together, introduces themselves. One fun tradition we have is that the new employees get to ask all the employees at that lunch a fun question like, what's the largest animal you could take on in a fight? Or what fruit or vegetable personifies you the most? But again, it's getting them integrated into the team, getting them to meet people that they may not otherwise naturally meet. Again, it's making these connections that are so important, both for the short and long term of their career. We have, in addition to regular, what we call DPM, direct personal manager, we have a technical advisor, go-to person that is their point person for specific training and technical ramp up. And then we also provide a more experienced mentor for our entry level people, as well as a mentor that is closer in their career to give them just those initial guidance and perspective and answer questions that they may not otherwise feel comfortable asking to their managers. We have a lot of foundational knowledge as for new hire training. Be nice that's actually with Patrick Swayze from Roadhouse. He is literally our patron saint of customer service. If you've not seen the movie Roadhouse, maybe you're a little bit too young, go check it out. It's a good, cheesy 80s movie where being nice is a great theme of the movie. So, foundational knowledge that we do start with getting by at DMC. We absolutely start with our core values. And there's a class that we give on culture, the class that we give on why our core values exist, why they're important, and why they are how we base our hard decisions on. So there are way too many things that new employees have to learn, far more than I could go over here. Certainly some that are applicable to some companies, not others. We go over a few of them here. For all of these and others, we have a formal standard operating procedure. We have created training classes. We ideally still try to do our training classes face-to-face. We also do them via Zoom. And if things don't line up, we have a video library of all of our trainings as well. A lot of these are basic, but having them well documented and following a process ensures that we are consistent and reduces errors. So some examples, opening the office, closing procedures, how to set the alarm and so forth. Expense reports. Got a class on how to create expense reports. Some of the most common tools, like SharePoint and Monday and Confluence and other, just fundamental software platforms that we use. We talk about project management, process basics, time management, and of course, safety. That's foundational for everyone at the company. It's very important, should be important to everyone. Technical training. That's a tough one to generalize. Of course, there's no one size fits all. At DMC, we have 4 different service areas, being automation, test and measurement, application development, and embedded system design work. So our technical training isn't going to be the same for each of them. And even in any of our service areas, our biggest one being automation, things are going to vary consistently from person to person, office to office. But having a good lab setup is very valuable. As much hardware as you can set up so that people can get trained on the specific technologies that they might be working on. A lot of things can be generic, but when it does, if someone's specifically working on a Rockwell platform with an ignition SCADA system, being able to connect to those particular devices with that specific software is really helpful. We do have a decent amount of hardware in each of our offices and our labs and training centers and so forth. But what we're looking at here is actually a training lab at our friends at Shore Controls, another CSI member based out of Wisconsin. They also have a really good entry-level training program themselves. They've got a very versatile lab that they allowed me to visit and take some pictures of, a lot of different hardware and devices, and very nice touch. They even brand it Shore University, which I think just sets the tone very well for the people that are part of the onboarding process. Technical training. So I just use this example of what we do for people who are joining our automation team. Some of the basics. There's nothing that should be surprising here. It's just, again, following a process of making sure that the people who may not have exposure to automation devices get a foundation when they start. Even what does a PLC do? What is ladder logic? And the fact that we can hire people on board that might not know what a PLC is and what is ladder logic, and have them up to speed and productive within a period of less than a couple of months is really just a good testament to the fact that it can work. But with all that said, the best way of getting someone up to speed is to get them on a project as soon as possible. Got this, one step back, 2 steps forward. And I remember actually when Ken, my partner, he joined up with me not quite 26 years ago. And me with having 3 years of experience, I thought, oh yeah, I really know what I'm doing. And he was coming in pretty green. But one thing that I started doing then is that I needed to sit back, literally side by side, and have him do the work, and I would give him guidance from next to him. And there's a small tip that I like to use of sitting on your hands, at least figuratively, while teaching someone how to do something. Is so easy to want to step in and say, this is what you do, and take over the keyboard and connect things and say, watch me, versus, okay, you have to do it. And the 1 step back to take 2 steps forward is by doing that for the first couple of weeks or however long it might be, the experienced person's productivity goes down significantly. But that changes relatively quickly. That the engagement that's needed by the experienced person might go from 100% of their time for the first couple of weeks to 50 to 25 to 10, 15%. And by getting someone involved on a project ASAP, where they're actually doing the work, even if it slows the pace down to a crawl, has been the most effective way of us ramping people up. Then keeping the momentum going. There's a lot of different tools that can be used for learning management. One that we found works really well is Talent LMS. This basically allows us to easily keep track of all of our internal trainings and competency of where people are. This is something that we did for a long time, just using a SharePoint list. So it's not as if you have to jump into something and go whole hog from the get-go of, okay, I don't have anything, let's get a very sophisticated learning management system. But starting to keep track of where people's competencies are and what trainings are needed, whether internal or external, and staying on top of that consistently is been very valuable for us. A primary driver for DMC's growth is the opportunity, allowing people the opportunity to reach their potential. And there's a lot of different ways that people can do that here. One, a traditional just career ladder that someone just progresses up in a certain technology and becomes more and more competent to a level of mastery. Another could be a career lattice that someone could be, for instance, moving from technical competency to project management, maybe going from one technical area to another. Maybe they say, okay, I'd like to have a focus on business development and put more of my energies there. And we have a lot of different lattices, a lot of different pathways for people to advance that we continue on to give them and giving them feedback and opportunities. And that, like I said, is the biggest driver for company growth. We put that all together in what we call our CDIP, Career Development Improvement Plan, which we just have a large matrix of what competencies we expect for people at what levels. And this is something that we have created over a period of literally years and years and improved upon. But what it does give us is a degree of objectivity of what people need to do in order to advance in their careers. And having those options early on in the career gives people good direction of what they can do and makes it exciting for them to know that they can go in a lot of different ways. Keeping the momentum going. So our number 6 core value is to have fun. And I've read that one of the key factors to workplace happiness is being able to say that you have a friend at work. And I tell employees that we're going to manipulate them to become friends with their coworkers. It's a little bit tongue in cheek, but we literally do lots of things, big and small, that essentially facilitates personal and work relationships. We have a monthly activity fund, kind of a use it or lose it thing for people to self-organize fun events. And, those could be, the simple things like happy hours and bowling to just more creative things that people have done, like going out and, doing pottery and other, really like, one of the things that they did in New York City last month, they did jet skis around the Statue of Liberty. So there's a lot of creative ways that people use this type of a fund. We subsidize yearly office events that the latest one was our San Diego office had a event just last week where people came in from all over the country and they surfed and they hung out at the beach and they rented a big beach house. And like I said, DMC subsidizes it for the order of magnitude of maybe $300 a person. So it's not super expensive, but things that people love to do. And then the image of the people on skis. Well, we've done an annual ski event that I think this year we've got close to 50 people that are going to Colorado to come together and spend time together. They'll work out of the Denver office. So a lot of things that we do, big and small, really facilitate relationships. Early on in people's careers, it makes for stronger connections, better engagement, and helps with retention. And that's what I've got for everyone today. I'm happy to answer questions. Like I said, happy to connect with anyone. Here's my contact info. You can, if you want to visit us in Chicago, whether it's at the Rockwell, timing the Rockwell Automation Fair or any other time, always happy to do so. Feel free to reach out and see. Lisa, do we have any questions?
We do have some questions.
Awesome.
And I will send them to you right now. So how many days do you typically see between offer acceptance and start day?
That's a good question. Lots. So putting things in perspective, we started our college recruiting process last month with on-campus career fairs. Last week, we had our first set of on-site candidates who came to Chicago. We're planning on sending out, just from that group of people, I think 3 offers that will go out this week. And we give them the choice of starting anywhere from these are, I'm presuming that these are all May grads. Some like to start right at the end of May. Some may not even start until the end of September if they want to do their backpacking through Europe trip or whatever it is kids do. So for the entry level, I mean, months, to up to like almost a year is a long time. Sometimes we get lucky. For instance, we might be recruiting on campus and talking to a December grad in the fall, and it might be a shorter time period, but in general, it's quite a long time.
Thank you. So I'm seeing some people populate the chat with their questions. It's so much easier for me if you put them in the Q&A, because then I have one list that I'm working from. So if you've put a question in the chat, please move it over to the Q&A. Thank you. This person says, curious how you decide who received training in a specific area, PLC, SCADA, SQL, etc. How do you structure that training?
So who receives it is going to be specific to what service area that they join, and that's a combination. The service area that they join is going to be a combination of what our needs are and what their interests are, and where they line up. And then specific to what training people receive, well, there's some, if they're joining automation, there's going to be a lot of just general, like, let's say, PLC and vision and motors and drives and SCADA and so forth. But then if we get into the more specific, okay, let's say they need SQL training because that's what they need for a specific project. We will give them the more specific on a somewhat as needed basis. I know that not a great answer, but we try to give the basics to everyone and the more specific kind of in a just-in-time type of approach.
How do you reconcile safety training with the hands-on technical training? Is there a certification people need before handling powered up equipment?
We don't send everyone to the specific, and it escapes me, safety training offsite, but we do have pretty rigorous safety training that we go through, and we try to give everyone the perspective of literally decades of experience that we put together internally, and then send them to external safety certification on a specific as needed basis. So, for instance, if someone's going to an oil refinery where safety certification is needed, we absolutely will make sure that they get certified.
Who executes the training programs? Are they self-directed or instructor-driven?
Yes, we've got instructor-driven, and then a lot of self-directed labs that they follow as well. So it's a combination. It's not just all do it yourself, but it's also not just sit in the classroom and watch someone else present.
Do you find retention rates better or worse for new grads versus experienced hires?
Probably a little bit worse, but not dramatically so.
How do you handle December grads? I'm not really sure what they're getting at there.
Oh, I can make an inference of what they're getting at. I'm assuming that they're saying, do we give them Christmas presents? The answer is no. No. So I think one of the advantages of a big group of spring graduates is that you can bunch trainings together, and so you get somewhat of an economy of scale. So in the summertime, every 2 weeks we are starting a new class of trainees. In the wintertime, there are far fewer, and we just don't get those economies of scale, and we have our training that we can do on an individualized basis. It's just not as efficient.
How do you decide who will be a mentor?
Both interest. Most people want to be able to connect with those earlier in their careers, and then what the connections might be. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at it. Having someone that has some similarities, whether it's in their service area, or maybe they went to the same school, or maybe they're in the same geography. But in general, we don't have a problem finding mentors, and we don't really have a problem with really any complaints, because mentorship, initially it's, hey, you know what, grab a lunch with them, in their first week, their first month, monthly for the first 3 months or so. They'll be there as a sounding board, and be there to check in. And it's not distinctly different from their manager, but it's a more casual, comfortable way of giving someone resources that they may not feel as good asking their manager about.
Yeah, it gives them a sense of safety, right? They can be a little bit more honest about what's really going on without jeopardizing their career.
Right.
Do you have challenges keeping your most experienced engineers from participating as mentors or other leadership roles? I'm not sure.
From part, I
Yeah.
mean, we literally, so John Sullivan gave a really good presentation at the last CSIA conference about our leadership development program. And that has been really successful for us for helping us develop our leaders. I could literally talk for several hours about the program and the advantages of that. So I'm not quite sure what the specifics of that question are. But if it's like balancing out the customer demands and mentorship and leadership, sure, so it's a hard job.
So once again, a reminder, if you're posting questions in the chat, to please post them in the Q&A, because I can only have so many windows open at once. It just helps me stay organized. Thank you. For the foundational knowledge to get by at DMC, this is in quotes, is this covered by the onboarding meetings on culture and core values, or is there more to this? Love this idea.
So there's very specific classes that we go through, foundational, like I just gave an overview of, office opening and closing procedures. How do I fill out your timesheets? What our core values are. How we operate as a company, who we are, and those are all. There are formal presentations. We have a class on like our customer service philosophy, and which is, I mean, our customer service philosophy, which I co-opted from Nordstrom, is if it's within reason, make it happen. And we in our classes for that, we try to give as many examples as possible while going through these. So
I think it's
go ahead.
I think it's sometimes we forget how these new entry-level people are babies, right? So we're, I had the opportunity to quote unquote onboard my daughter, my 20-something daughter. She started her first job during the pandemic and it was remote. And there were so many questions that she asked me. I'm like, oh yeah, somebody needs to teach them how to write an email, or somebody needs to teach them how to send a fax, or something. A fax is a bad example, but there are just some basic things that we kind of forget as experienced workers that entry-level people need to know. So I love that you're addressing that in a way that doesn't make them feel, stupid or whatever. Here's another question. With new grads, how many mentors are training at one given time during the 7-week period? Are the employees who are training unbillable during that training time?
So how many mentors are training, or how many new employees are training?
With new grads, how many mentors are training at one given time? I think what this person is asking is, how many people are not billing while you're onboarding or training the newbies?
Sure. Yeah. So that's if we I had the slide, one step back, two steps forward, you might get almost to a one-on-one basis of that one step back. One mentor, I should be careful that it's not necessarily a mentor that's going to be working with them on a project. Those may or may not be the same person. But let's just say, after maybe some foundational things, they're working on a project side by side. First week, you may be taking that trainer, if you will, project trainer. 80% of their time might not be valuable. Second week, it may be down to 40%. The third week, the project trainer maybe is down to only spending 15% of their time, and they can at that point, we actually are seeing valuable output from the new employee. So there's a relatively short period of time with a relatively high amount of, I'll call it negative productivity.
For the CDIP chart on career progression, do you have additional lists for what each level includes? For example, the differences between CC1 and CC2.
Oh God, yeah. There's like a very, very comprehensive list of what's required in order to have competency at each of those levels. And the reason that we do that is that we want to be consistent and fair in our promotion process. And if we go back, like a long time, and promotions would happen, when I felt that people were ready. That's obviously not a scalable process. I'd like to think I was consistent with myself, but even then, I was probably inconsistencies. Like at the size we're at now, we have a very, very detailed, comprehensive list of what's required for each component of our CDIP matrix.
Talent LMS, is the content developed in-house, or does the LMS have applicable training already available for system integrators?
I believe that it's all developed in-house.
With your new grads, at what point in their training do you start to move them to a specialty like sales versus application engineer paths?
So we've got three components that we have being engineering, business development, and project management. Probably for the first several years, everyone is an engineer. And then they might start getting more of a technical focus after the 2-3 years, or going into a BD or a PM role. But it's generally several years before they would be focusing more of their time on anything but engineering.
What is an estimate of your post-COVID retention percentage for new grad hires?
So we had in the second half of 20 and call it the first 3 quarters of 21, higher level of attrition than we had ever seen. And we did a lot of things to try to staunch that. We've maintained a flexible hybrid work environment, so people can work basically wherever they want. Notwithstanding the requirements to work at a customer site. We gave more vacation. We did some proactive compensation increases. We have more flexible work environment, work schedules, and so forth. So we went from a pre-COVID turnover rate in the low to mid single digits to call it that time period, second half of 20 through mid-summer, late summer of 21, that we ramped up into the 25% range, and we're back down to single digits. So certainly correlated to a lot of the things that we did, but certainly has and remains a concern.
Do you give mentors a checklist to work through, or is it more as things come up?
For the initial meetings, there's a checklist, and then they're there, there's actually, two things. One, we have a class, how to be a good mentor. We also have a class, how to be a good mentee. So being a good mentee, these are basic things, but like you said, Lisa, if you're not aware of them, it doesn't hurt to just say, hey, if you're showing up to a meeting with your mentor, be prepared, have a list of questions, make sure that it's valuable both for you and your mentor.
So there's a couple of questions here about managing locations for new graduates and the hybrid model, work from home versus office, which I believe you've addressed. But if the person who posted those questions feels like the answer is missing something, please feel free to repost a question. Are we publishing the slide deck? That's a question. We know we will definitely have a recording of the session, but that's up to you, Frank, if you want to share your deck.
Yeah, we'll do a PDF of the deck.
Okay, great. Let's see, we did that one. Do you include soft skills with career progression? Like, how do you handle a situation where someone is highly competent technically, but needs to improve communication skills, for example?
Certainly, and that is part of our leadership program here. We have a our leadership development program is called LIFT, and a completely non-contrived acronym. Leadership Improvement Forged Together, and we've got actually a space theme for that, and that certainly includes a lot of soft skills.
Do you provide 90-day or annual performance reviews, or a different method of giving feedback to entry-level staff?
We provide 3 reviews per year for everyone.
Jennifer, I'm coming up to the end of my questions, so please be ready to put my last slides up. But I do have one final question for you, Frank, and it's probably the most important one. Is that John Sullivan's cowboy hat behind you?
That is my cowboy hat. that was given to me by Jason Mays, who heads our Southern operations. He's based in Houston, to commemorate our Houston office opening many years ago.
Awesome, thank you. So go ahead, Jennifer, and put my last slides up for me. On behalf of CSIA, I would like to thank our speaker, Frank, for this informative discussion. I would also like to thank DMC for presenting this event. And of course, thank you for attending. I'd also like to remind you that a recording will be available for viewing within the next couple of days. Be sure to bookmark the CSIA events calendar so you don't miss any upcoming events. One last thing, be sure to check your spam folder for any CSIA emails you might have missed. Even better, whitelist CSIA so you can stay up to date. This concludes our program today. Once again, thank you for joining us and have a great day.